Okay, hey YouTube, I'm doing a video on basically how to improve your gaming performance if you're finding that you can't run certain games without lagging. There's a couple of things you can do. Okay, first thing I recommend you do is download AMD Overdrive. Now this is only if you've got a non-stock CPU cooler. What it does, it allows you to overclock your processor to make it run faster than what it was meant to. Okay, it's kind of cool, but also it makes your temps go higher, so unless you got good cooling, I wouldn't bother. Don't push your processor too far because it might burn out, and yeah, you could destroy it. And if you're gonna raise your multiplier too high, so say if I want to raise it to 20 times, I'd have to also raise the voltage, which generates more heat. But you can also do a stability test and test, see if your CPU is okay with that clock you just set it at. So anyway, that's kind of cool. I actually find it, for me personally, I find it easier to set the CPU in the BIOS. But for all the noobs, if you're new to overclocking, basically, just use AMD Overdrive. Next thing, MSI Afterburner. If you've got a reasonably good graphics card, I recommend you download this. It's free, and what it just allows you to do is basically use this slider to adjust the core clock, which is basically how fast your graphics card runs. And it's useful for basically, yeah, if you use that and use it effectively, you can increase your game performance by probably up to about 5 frames per second, which I'm just about to demonstrate. So I don't know how well you can see this, but my card's a GTX 560 Ti, and the stock core clock is 822 MHz. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this and basically, yeah, for this clock obviously you don't have to adjust the voltage because it's what the graphics card comes with. And I'm going to run a benchmark which will hopefully demonstrate what this card is capable of at stock settings. So, I'm sure most of you have probably heard of this, it's Heaven Benchmark. I'm using OpenGL, which is the most demanding format, basically. It's like a step above DirectX 11. So it's going to run through the test, and at the end it'll give you an average frame rate and then a score based on that frame rate, and then your minimum and maximum. Usually the card shouldn't dip below 20, so let's just test that. Okay, so it's pretty cool at the minute. This whole test will last about 4 or 5 minutes. And basically what I'm going to do then is after it's finished I'm going to overclock the card and then run it again just to sort of show how much difference it really makes. And it's not sort of huge, it's not going to turn your 880 100 GT into some kind of DirectX 11 monster. It's a minor improvement, and I mean you can make the judgment for yourself whether it's worth it. You don't really need any extra cooling for graphics card overclocking, as long as your temperatures are reasonably low. I'd say for any NVIDIA GTX, as long as it stays under about, let's say, 85 degrees, you're okay. You're cool, they can handle that. Not too sure about the AMDs, but apparently they run hotter. Okay, so basically it goes through 26 different stages like this. It's on stage 8 at the minute. So yeah, it does take a bit of time. It's not the kind of thing I normally sit here watching. And yeah, we're getting some pretty decent frame rate. It's going at about average at the minute. It's around 35. Well, it's saying 35.5. And I mean, I find that the recommended sort of minimum playable frame rate when you're gaming is about 25. I think it's probably about 30 for me, because normally, unless the game's got like a really good motion blur, I can't play it at 25. Even at 30, games are not brilliant. Ideally you want 50, I'd say. But obviously, you know, beggars can't be choosers. It's on stage 16 at the minute. What you find that if your clock settings are unstable, the graphics card will probably have crashed by now. If it runs to here, then normally you've got some pretty safe voltages and temperatures. Because this this benchmark stresses your graphics card to its max. So if you look back on the MSI Afterburner, you'll realise that it has been running at 100% load, which is what you want. Also, just so you know, my processor is a Phenom 2 quad core at 3.4 GHz. I think it's a 965, which is good, but obviously it doesn't compare with the i5 2500K, which is like probably the best bang for the buck at the minute. We are sort of nearing the end of it now. It's 24th stage, and the average FPS is about 37. Okay, again, I don't know how well you can see that, but 37.8 frames per second, and the score is 952. Minimum FPS 24.9 and max 80.7. It's pretty good. That would definitely be playable, I suppose, if you were to actually play in those kind of frame rates. It'd be alright. I mean, obviously you would notice a bit of lag at 24 point whatever was the minimum. And now, back to MSI Afterburner. It shows here that the GPU usage was at full, and the temperatures didn't go above 54, which is great. Core clock 822. Now what I'm going to do is, if you can see, my current voltage is 1025 megavolts. Sorry, millivolts, what am I on about? And I'm just gonna go back to my previous clock, which is here. So let's go here. Okay, so the voltage has been up from 1.025 to 1.087. It's a bit of a weird number, I know. Core clock is 942. That's the highest sort of stable clock I could find, and it automatically ups the shader clock with that to keep up with the core clock, which is cool. That'll increase your speed a bit more. And let's just see, let's just run it again, see if there's any improvement. When you overclock, I wouldn't go crazy. I'd go sort of 5-10 megahertz at a time, test it, see if it's stable. If it's not, or if you start getting artifacts on your screen, then up the voltage until, yeah, it becomes too much or your temperatures are getting too hot, and then just stop or back down a little bit. Because you know what, you'd rather have longer lifespan than, you know, like 5-10 megahertz too much speed. But from what I have heard is that if you overclock a GTX 560 Ti right, then it can get almost sort of GTX 570 like performance. Okay, don't know if you can tell, but it is slightly smoother. I suppose the end scores will tell. Just so you know, if you're looking to buy the GTX 560 Ti, I would definitely recommend the Asus one. Asus do the direct CO2 cooling, which is brilliant for keeping your temps down. Even when overclocked, mine doesn't go above 72, which is still really good for this kind of graphics card. Considering it can handle, it'll be fine even at 90, but obviously just for lifespan, I'm keeping it at that. I don't want to push it any further, to be honest. I don't need to. I think any further on my processor will be the bottleneck. It'll be like the limiting factor. So it's saying average frames are now 39 roughly, which is a definite improvement. And normally by the end it will have increased a bit more. I was thinking about recording this with fraps, but that would kind of take the point away of a benchmark, because then that would just be affecting the frame rate as well, which is why I had to do it with this camera. Sorry if the quality's not brilliant, but I guess you'll get the point. Also, I was wondering if anyone can help me out, because I'm thinking of upgrading my system, but I'm not sure what's the best thing to upgrade. Should I upgrade my processor, my RAM? I've got 8 gigs of 1333 MHz Corsair RAM. I've got, as I said, AMD Phenom 965 Black Edition processor. I've got a GIGABYTE ultra durable 3 motherboard. And so yeah, I mean, obviously I list the specs in the description, but if anyone can help me out as like the best place to upgrade, then please do that. So I'm thinking that if I upgrade my GPU, then my processor will just badly bottleneck it, because I don't think it's good enough to... Yeah, I heard that AMD don't have sort of as much speed per core as maybe Intel, which is why I'm thinking I might have to upgrade to the Intel Core i7, which would be kind of cool. Okay, it's hovering, frame rate's hovering at about almost 40. Okay, now it is 40. Okay, so FPS is 41.6. I can't remember, I think the last one was like 37 point something, so yeah, about a 4 frame rate improvement. That's pretty cool actually. I think you'd notice some difference. Scores 1949, last one was like 960 or something like that. Minimum's a bit higher, I think last time it was 24, this time it's 26.5. And the maximum's also higher. Last time it was about 82 and this time it's 87.3. Okay, so cool. That's basically overclocking for you. And I say the last thing you can do is just go into your start menu and type in. Oh yeah, by the way, temperature didn't actually go above 16.9, which is again pretty cool. Yeah, so type in to your search box at the bottom of that thing. Yeah, I forgot, but whatever. Visual. It's basically no, it's not that actually. Okay, so what you want to do, if you go to performance. Ah, there we go. Okay, now from here you can actually adjust visual effects up here. And now here, if you click on adjust to best performance, then basically what it'll do is, I don't need it right now, but if you're in desperate need, it'll sort of go back to the XP look, but it'll free up some RAM and some processor usage, so you'll get like maybe another 1 or 2 FPS onto your games, which is good. No one's complaining. Alright, so thanks for watching. Rate, subscribe, comment, like, and share if you feel like it.